Welcome back to another episode of the It's Just Different podcast, man. And if you were on my personal Facebook page, you've seen that I posted I was going to do a video today about the sign stealing scandal. I decided I was going to do a video before actually. I had watched some podcasts. Listened to some podcasts, watched some, listened to the radio and stuff like that. Guys I've been following for a long time. And I kind of just wrapped up my thoughts. And then I decided when I got home, I was like, you know what? Let me just watch this thing and just, I know it's not going to be. Everybody said if you watch it, it's not nothing really new, super new in it like that. But if you know, then you would know that um, for some who don't really follow, it'll be new. But for those like me who've been following the right people, it's not really anything surprising. But I watched the documentary, um, and I will say that, you know, from my perspective, first thing I want to say about Connor Stallions, is that he's not a bad guy. Like that's very very apparent. He's not a bad person. Grew up a Michigan fan. There's when you watch it, there's gonna be video of him as a little kid dressed up as Bo Schembechler, and it's not a person that's coming from a bad place trying to do something horribly wrong. He grew up, excuse me, he grew up a fan. So for him, he as a kid, he always he told his parents, I'm gonna be the head coach of Michigan one day. When people first heard that when the scandal was going on, I heard that same thing. People were like, man, he's a nut. When I watched the documentary though, it's like, nah, this is just a kid who had a dream, and this is what he really was. He was ingrained. He was just a Michigan person. Like he was a Michigan man, like they like to say. He loved the University of Michigan. He did. So you start off with him going through the Navy, and in the Navy they just threw him, threw him somewhere, and they steal signs. His very first game, ironically, was against Ohio State, and he did fairly well. Like the Navy's a Navy, they can't beat Ohio State, but he deciphered their signs in that game. And the score was 34-17, and from there they had like I don't do. He said they had in his 3-4 year run, they had the best time, the best records ever, like total wins and losses. Somebody said, that's not true if you go back. I'm not counting no 1800s, early 1900s, whatever. I'm not doing all of that. But in modern day football, they had a great time as him as a sign stealer. So he meets Michigan. Michigan had a football coaches clinic, and that's where he went. And at some point, he ran into Chris Partridge, like, yo, I want to help. What can I do? So he was a lower level guy. Chris Partridge hooked him up, and he was like, well, I stole signs at Navy, and so they threw him they gave him the same job. Well, we don't, this is 2018, I believe. 2017, 2018, I believe it was 2018. And Michigan had no sign stealing guy. Listen to what I'm about to say again. Michigan had no sign stealing guy. Everybody else that they were going against, including Ohio State, all were already doing this, stealing signs. Michigan didn't do this. Jim Harbaugh comes from the pros. He didn't really think to put some schmuck on the coaching staff to specifically do this. He didn't know. So here comes Connor Stallion saying, look, there's a whole like underground network of coaches across the country in every school who meet every Sunday, who are sign stealing guys. They talk every Sunday. I'm sure it's like FaceTime or something like that, and they exchange ideas and they exchange information. Michigan had no idea of any of this. They had no idea until this dude walked into the program and was like, "Hey, bro, you know Ohio State has your signs? They've been stealing your signs, and I'm gonna do the same thing back, not to just them, to everybody." So he took it very personal. Like, okay, I love Michigan. This is my job. This is more than just my job. I'm going to steal signs. So, number one thing I got from this, look, what did you learn most, Mike, about this documentary? Connor Stalions did not break any rules. That's the number one thing I can tell you. When it comes to NCAA bylaws, the actual rules, the laws of the NCAA college football, he didn't break any because he wasn't in-game scouting. He did not, as someone on the staff, he did not in-game scout. What he did by giving friends tickets and buying them tickets and sending them out there, you could, if you want to count these people as staff members, which they were not, I'll give you, let's just say I'm giving you that. Then they broke rules. But they were not. They were just family members and friends who were just doing something for him. And people go, well, like, what was he, like, what were they doing? Yeah, you know, one dude specifically was talking like, yeah, I went to games. Yeah, I recorded signs. People, I have a Galaxy S23, and I have a really, really good phone. A really, really good phone. If I sat in a football stadium with this phone and zoomed in to someone's signs, I will have okay video from a far distance. I will have okay video. I would not have video better than a TV copy, which Connor Stalions was using to decipher people's signs. He would get video from people. I don't know how great people's cell phones were. He would get video in a packed stadium of them recording whatever they were doing. And if you put that footage next, they're not showing this footage, by the way. They're not showing this footage because the NCAA has not let anybody see this stuff. They claim they have it, whatever. If you would put this video next to the TV copy, you will already know there's no way it's better than a TV copy. It's just not. So him watching the TV copy will show him more than what he's actually getting from a friend sitting in row 75, whatever the hell they were, and giving him video evidence. That's number one. So let me reiterate that again. I don't believe for 1 second he broke any NCAA rules. I don't. If you're telling me someone who, I played basketball my whole life, and growing up, I know as a basketball fan, it's my favorite sport of all time. There's unwritten rules when you play the game. Like if I'm a jump shooter, if you stand under me as I'm shooting or as I'm dunking, that's an unwritten rule. You don't stand underneath nobody while they're in the air. You got to give me a safe space to land. That's an unwritten rule. Now, if you're asking me, do I think he broke an unwritten rule? Like an unwritten rule, and people are like, man, bro, why would you do that? Like we're not doing that. I would say yes, he broke an unwritten rule. Technology, using by some other people that's not you. Yes, I would say he broke an unwritten rule. But an unwritten rule isn't breaking an actual rule. So, as I said to people before today, he abused the hell out of the rule. He seen the rule and he said, "Oh, so this is it. Okay, so I guess I would send some friends to some games and do this for me since I can't go myself." And the letter of the law, I guess. I'm trying to be. Yes. Do I get the feeling, just inside of me, do I get the feeling that he went too far? Yes, I would say I think he went too far. But do I think there was some dude sitting in his basement talking with Jim Harbaugh and Jesse Minter and Sharon Moore and Chris Partridge. I don't believe that for 1 second. I don't even think none of these people knew what he was doing. I 100% believe that when he put this network together of people to go get signs, he did that on his own. He did that on his own. Okay? That's number one. Number two, do I think it was the reason why Michigan had this 3-year run that's currently going? No, I do not. I mean, come on. I do not. The evidence is the week of the Michigan State game, this all broke. And he even talks about this. The week of the Michigan State, this all broke. Michigan lost Jim Harbaugh right before they played Penn State. They beat Maryland, they beat Ohio State, and then they beat Alabama, and then they blew the hell. They beat the shit out of Washington. It was 34-13, but if you watch that game, they had no chance. That's called coaching and talent. That has nothing to do with Connor Stalions. Ask Ryan Day how he couldn't beat Sharon Moore, who was an interim coach in that game. After all of this happened, you still couldn't beat him in this game. In the game, you still couldn't win. With everything that everybody knew at that point, you still couldn't win. I don't want to hear anything else about Ohio State fans. I am done until November. I will not respond to y'all till November. I am absolutely out of it. We'll see y'all in November. And by the way, I think that game is going to it's going to be way more intense than any other game. Why do I say that? Because when you watch the documentary, towards the end, pretty much towards the end, they're talking about, Connor talks about the fact that he knows when the Washington Post gave this information to the NCAA. The Washington Post wrote a story talking about the NCAA got all this information. They got all this information from Connor Stalions. How did you get all this? Understand, people. This stuff was on his personal computer. Okay? There was like a spreadsheet that nobody had ever seen. Was on his personal computer. If he had not given that to the NCAA, or even Michigan, rather, how did the Washington Post get a whole story that this went to the NCAA? How did any of this get to the NCAA? What is very well known is that some rival hired a private investigating firm, and essentially Connor was hacked. His private files was hacked. I watched another video today by Isaiah Hole and my guy Steve Dace, who were talking to Connor Stalions. This whole scandal, Isaiah Hole and Connor Stalions was talking. They're good friends. They were talking. And I've been following Isaiah Hole since 2019, and he's been saying since 2019. Ohio State stole Michigan's signs. Never made a big deal about it. He just said Don Brown changed your signs. Like, you got to adjust. But I've been knowing about that. That part I've been knowing. I've been knowing Ohio State stole Michigan signs. I said it on Facebook. I didn't really make a big deal about it. It is what it is. Still win the game. You know what I mean? Adjust. But what ended up happening was, in real time, Isaiah Hole was having a conversation with Connor Stalions. This is not on the documentary. This is on his own podcast. He had a conversation. They brought in Steve Dace because he was in politics. In politics, they play a dirty game. Steve Dace, came in and asked Connor some questions about, what did you actually do? And from that point on, he told Stalions and Isaiah Hole, this is politics. I'm going to tell y'all from here on out what's going to happen. And everything he lined up about what's going to happen, how it's going to be thrown at you, and it's going to feel like a witch hunt. It all happened in exact the same way. He labeled, this is going to happen. They're going to do this, then they're going to do this, and then this is going to be leaking, and it's going to feel like leaks, but it's not actual leaks. It's serving a purpose. It's not an actual leaks. It's serving a purpose because this is how they want this to come. There's a reason why everybody in media, including big time media and rivals, everybody said, the NOA, the notice of allegations, the draft is going to come before the Kind of Stallions documentary, and then they're going to try to push to get the NOA, the actual NOA, out before the Kind of Stallions. They did all of that. They did. The NCAA did all of that so they can push this onto you before Netflix released his documentary. So now when you watch it, you're not watching it open mind. You're watching it like, the NCAA caught him red-handed. But when you actually watch the fucking documentary, they don't give you anything. They don't show shit. They don't show nothing that lets you know that Michigan was in on the science. There's nothing. And there's nothing in this thing that shows that Michigan was a part of this science. There's nothing. Absolutely nothing. But I will say this. For the first time, we get to see an actual NCAA investigation. Why? Because he recorded his meeting with the NCAA. He recorded it. So when you watch this, he's on Zoom with his lawyers. His lawyer had beaten the NCAA before in the case before. Okay, this guy is not playing any games. So they're videoing. It's like 3 women and like a couple guys, something like that. Most of them are kind of like shadowed out. And they're asking him, and let me start by saying this. They asked him about this Central Michigan thing. I believe 100% it was him. I've said that. I believe that it was him. So they asked him in the thing, they said, so are you, did you attend the game, Central Michigan game, against Michigan State? Were you on the sideline? And he goes, I'm not aware that I know something like, I wasn't aware that I attended that game, something like that. And the lady asked him again, she goes, did you attend the Central Michigan game? Did you attend the Michigan State and Central Michigan game, and were you on the sideline? His lawyer steps in and says, hey, he already answered that question. I don't know why she asked him again. I have no idea why she would repeat the same question twice. And with that, his lawyer steps in and says, hey, look, we got to finish this by a certain time, but I have come to know that this information that it was on Kind of Stallions' personal, was his laptop, his computer, whatever it was, his whatever database, whatever he was using. I come to believe that it was hacked illegally, and that this information that you guys received, I don't know why anybody just bundled this all up and just sat it to them and gave them to them, and they went so fast investigating this, like it was just 100% believable, and where they got it was just like one thing I know about investigations, I may just watch Law and Order or First 48. I do know when somebody gives the cops or detectives information, they tend to question where it came from. Like where did this come from? How do I know this is real? Let me make sure we investigate this ourselves to make sure that we are on the up and up. Where did you get this before we present this? Because if we present something that was illegally obtained, it gets thrown out in court cases, right? Well, the lawyer asks him, says, look, I have reason to believe that this information was illegally obtained. He had a hack. He did not give this to anybody. No one has ever seen this information. How did you obtain? This is his lawyer talking to the NCAA. How did you obtain this information? The lady thus responds, saying, uh, um, she stutters for like 5 to 10 seconds and goes, well, yes, we are aware of it. Yes, we have this information, but we are not. She basically saying we're not disclosing where we got it from, or or what we actually have. Wait. I simply ask you, how did you guys get the information, and was it illegally obtained? And your response, because you're not, this is not the court of law, by the way. This is just a hearing. You're acting like lawyers. The NCAA, you tend to act like you're lawyers. So I'm going to give you the law thrown at you. And your response to this is, well, we can't tell you where we got it from. But you can't tell me how you got it and where you got it from. But you are throwing this out to the public as this big thing because some school is, I'm trying my hardest not to say Ohio State, man, but it's so obvious. It's so obvious. And also in the documentary, Dan Wetzel, who's a reporter, he investigates this himself. He looks up the Freedom of Information Act on other schools. Has anybody else purchased tickets to games to other schools? And he comes back and he says, "You wouldn't believe what I've uncovered. And if the NCAA would actually investigate this, they would see that it's way deeper than what they will actually want you to believe." And they show schools and the amount of tickets they bought and the amount. And it's not like Connor Stalions-esque 30-something tickets. But there's schools who bought tickets to other games, including the Horseshoe. Yeah, that school did the same thing. But I'm not going to. Listen, I am not going to keep blaming that school because I really don't care. I really don't give a fuck. Honestly, I don't care. But I did give this a fair shot, and I watched it, and again, I knew a lot of this already, so watching it for me, it really didn't move me. But if you, the viewer, if you're watching this and you have not seen it, you don't know much about it, just watch it yourself. Just watch it yourself, and let me know what you think about it. I don't believe he broke any NCAA rules, but I do feel like that the NCAA reacted in such a strong manner. They don't ever do anything this fast. They reacted so fast about it that you cannot then just bring it all back. You cannot go back now. You have to go full-fledged 100% in what you're doing, and I think that's what they're doing. They're trying to stay as strong as they were at the beginning, but at the longer this drags out, it starts to get this feeling of it's really not that serious, and they're trying their hardest to they're leaking everything because they're trying their hardest to pin Michigan on something when you don't have any damning information. You don't have any damning information on coaches. The only information you have on Connor Stalions is that he bought tickets from friends or whatever the case may be, and he obtained some cell phone footage that he admitted to in the documentary. I don't like that he lied about the Central Michigan thing. Again, I believe that he was on the sideline of Central Michigan. But let me tell you this, and listen to what I'm about to say. Let me tell you this. It is not up to Connor Stalions to admit whether or not he was on the sideline of Central Michigan. It is up to the NCAA to prove that he was on the sideline of Central Michigan. And when they gave the draft to Michigan, they said They believe that it was Connor Stalions on the sideline at Central Michigan. They never said that they know for a fact it was him. They said they believe it was him. I believe it was him. They never said they have any information that confirms it was him. Understand that. Because when you understand this, the NCAA is not the law. They are not. They're not the actual criminal law. They're not. It's not criminal court. This is more like civil court, right? More than likely means you're guilty, and that's how they present this. If we feel like it happened, and here's the punishment. If this was criminal law, they would be very embarrassed because they don't have anything that makes you go, okay, he did that. Like, if you showed the footage, the picture of him on CMU, the jury would go, yeah, I believe that's him. But we don't have anything to confirm it's him because nobody at CMU has said it was him. They would be the only ones to know. And they're not saying that it's him. So all you can do is say, I believe it was him. Again, I think it was him. I do. Was he helping Michigan? No, he was not helping Michigan. I think everybody who actually knows he wasn't helping Michigan. But, which is really weird to me. Like, why don't y'all just say he was, like, whatever. I get it. Central Michigan is not as big as Michigan. I get it. But whatever. But I also say this, man. I'm going to say it again. It's not up to Connor Stalions to prove he's guilty. It's up to the NCAA to show that he's guilty. And this is like civil court. It's more likely than not. If it's 51-49, to them, you're guilty, and they give out these punishments. That's how this goes. That is how this goes. So, Connor Stalions does not have to tell you what he did or how he did it. I do believe he was someone who took his job a little too seriously and went too far. But I don't believe he broke an actual NCAA rule. I don't. I do feel like the NCAA feels like very embarrassed that he actually did this, and he got around their little. He had a loophole around their rule, and he just like as he says in the documentary, he went. There's a line. He didn't cross that line, but he straddled the fence. He undoubtedly straddled the fence. And, you know, it's not this great documentary and nothing like that. It's not like gonna win an award and nothing like that. Excuse me. But, you know, it's for entertainment. Honestly, it's for entertainment. He's a Michigan fan. He grew up a Michigan fan. He just took his fandom to a whole nother level. But I urge people, man, don't be nasty to this person if you see him in public or if you see him on socials and anything like that. I don't believe he's ever going to be on socials or anything like that. But if you see the man in public, don't be nasty. He's actually a good person. Like if you watch this documentary, you understand this is not some evil dude trying to come up with some evil scheme. It's just a fan who took it too far. And some weirdo Brohio guy on there, like, dude, like, get out of your mom's basement. Seriously. Like, that. It's so weird that you're in there with a mask on and I'm Brohio. Like y'all, like, Ohio State fans are a little different. They are a little different. I don't know what's in the water in Ohio. I really don't care, but they obviously care about this stuff more than anybody else. It's very, very weird how his lawyer asked where y'all got the information from, and they wouldn't answer the question. And they wouldn't. Not only would they not answer the question, if you watch the clip. Watch the clip for yourself. It's not good. It's not good in the NCAA. It's not good for the NCAA. I'll say that. How she answered that question when all the lawyer asked him was, "How did you obtain this information?" and she stuttered so badly. I cut it off. Like, I stopped. I paused it because I was like, "What the hell just happened here?" Like, you're the only one who's gonna ask questions. So when a question gets asked back to you, you don't know how to answer it. That's very strange to me. But hey, man, look, everybody's ready to move on. It's a new season starting this weekend. I doubt very much that people outside of East Lansing and Columbus really care about this crap. Like, I know someone who said you know they are from the South, and in the South they're laughing at this whole thing because it's like, how is this really a story? Do y'all know what goes down here? How is this even a story? Because it really shouldn't be. It really shouldn't be. But hey, man, have fun with it. Again, I didn't really want to do this. It's exhausting. It's so stupid. Again, I'm gonna leave you with this. It's not up to Connor Stalions to prove he's not guilty. It's up to the NCAA to prove that he's guilty. But they can't, because they don't have the actual evidence that he did something so illegal. But they do know in a court of NCAA opinion, it's like civil law. More likely than not, then you're guilty. And that's all they're doing. That's all they're doing. They know that. That's all they're doing. We know we can win on that, and that's how we're going to play it. And hey, man, whatever. But shout out to Connor Stalions, man. Hopefully sometime you guys, my fans, tag Connor Stalions or hit him up on socials, whatever the case may be, man. Just put his name 1,000 times in the comments, please. I would love to interview the guy. I'm a big Michigan fan myself. I really would just like to get to know the person, because what he did, the dude, if you watch what he did, he's an absolute genius of stealing signs. The dude really is that good. He's really that good. But hey, man, until next time, be safe. Peace.